Hi, welcome back to my channel. Today I am doing the no disclaimers book tag. It's a really nice fall day. I don't know why I'm doing this more negative tag on this day, but I guess it's all there for balance, I suppose, right? So let's get into this tag because I'm about to get a little bit negative or a little bit ranty or a little bit opinionated. Let's get into it. Okay, so the first question is, which trope in books annoy you the most? To be honest, I don't really mind tropes because it kind of provides a foundation for the writer to make the trope original, which might sound like an oxymoron considering that tropes are considered redundant and unoriginal, but people make such a big deal out of tropes and like people utilizing tropes, and it's like, I really don't mind that. As long as the logic of that trope makes sense or it's executed well, then I don't mind. But I will say that the love triangle trope does often annoy me because I love love triangles, and yet it's usually the case of one girl with two guys, and it annoys the shit out of me because you introduce this girl who's very strong, and then I don't know, it's like when she's being defined by her romantic conflicts, she completely forgets her friendships, she forgets her family, she forgets her priorities, she forgets the plot. She forgets everything except for the romantic conflict, and it just annoys me when female characters are made to be so weak like that in the end because of the romantic love triangle. Okay, number 2. Which writer or writers do you feel are overrated / overhyped? Oh, I'm just gonna say it. Brandon Sanderson. Look, okay, maybe that's not a good answer. Okay, look, because he's just like one of the very rare exceptions for me. I respect him as an author, but I don't really like his books. That doesn't necessarily mean that he's overrated or he's overhyped. I can totally understand why people like his books. So Brandon Sanderson, I don't like his books, but I don't think that's a really good answer for this one. No offense to any Brandon Sanderson fans out there, because I completely understand his hype. And I do respect the guy. I think he is someone who really tries to improve upon his craft. I would actually instead choose maybe Patrick Rothfuss. I hated Name of the Wind. The main character felt like... what's the word for Mary Sue for a guy? Is that Gary Stu, I think? He's a Gary Stu. I think that the writing is good. I think that just the tone deafness of that character, yeah, I don't like that book. Obviously, Sarah J. Maas, right? She's honestly one of the worst authors I have read in my entire life. I don't really want to bring that energy onto my channel right now because I ranted about Sarah J. Maas so many times on my blogs that you can go check them out. I'll put a link in the description because I went off on her books so much on my blogs. It just kind of drained a lot of energy out of me because I was so angry about her. So yes, Sarah J. Maas, I kind of get her hype. I understand why people like her books, but they're not for me. You know what? I'm gonna go with a really controversial answer for number 2, actually. I think that Leigh Bardugo is a little bit overhyped. I really respect her because I think that she has a lot of talent as an author, and I think she is trying to tackle a lot of like serious topics. So I don't really want to say it that way because I do respect her as an author, and I think that she has potential to make another really great series like the Six of Crows duology again in the future. But I think with the Six of Crows duology and how well it turned out, I kind of feel like it was a fluke in terms of like how well balanced that series was. Everything else that I've read by Leigh Bardugo, like the Ninth House, Shadowbone trilogy, they're not well balanced books in my opinion. I have not read King of Scars, but people have kind of had very negative reaction to King of Scars as well. So I don't know, with Leigh Bardugo, it's like I respect her as an author, and I totally believe that she can find that right balance between fun and seriousness. Very much like the Six Crows duology, which I think is literally so great. But again, I do feel like it was kind of a fluke because it was just the right plot, the right characters, the right sort of setting for Leigh Bardugo to flourish, because she has a tendency to just kind of like make her stories really drag and like not have a plot. And I think that Six of Crows, because it's very much like heist driven and it's very much like action driven, it forced Leigh Bardugo to kind of snap out of it and like really just kind of find that right balance. So which writer do I feel is kind of overhyped? Considering her work so far, Six of Crows duology is frigging amazing. But I think considering that the majority of her works were not that great, considering how few hits she's had, and considering how many misses she had, I think Leigh Bardugo is a little bit overhyped. But I do completely acknowledge that Six of Crows duology is amazing. It's literally my second or third favorite series of all time, so I can't really say that I think that Leigh Bardugo is talentless or anything. I just think that she's a little bit overhyped considering the lack of hits she's had relative to the amount of misses that she's had. Does that make any sense? Okay, so number 3, what are your least favorite books you've read since you started blogging? Oh gosh, I think I've read so many bad books ever since I started getting into the book community, because at least the YA book community, look, fun fact, Six of Crows duology was the series that got me back into reading YA. When I was a teenager, I hated YA books. And so I just was completely turned off of reading YA books for like 10 years at least. And then I read Six of Crows duology back in 2016 and I was kind of blown away. Or was it 2017? I don't know. And I was kind of blown away and I was like, what have I been missing out for the past decade? And then turns out not much. There are more books that I've come to hate since I started to blog. Some of the ones that I just hate includes like Caraval by Stephanie Garber. That book is a Night Circus knockoff in my opinion. I read the Night Circus after I read Caraval, so when I read Caraval I was like, why is this so freaking substanceless? Like, how did this get past the publisher? But then once I read the Night Circus, I realized that Caraval was able to get past the publisher because the Night Circus had happened before. And I think that the publisher kind of really liked the feeling of Caraval and how similar it was to the Night Circus, despite the fact that, you know, the Caraval didn't have any substance. The Night Circus had the substanceless quality as well, but it wasn't like, it was still done well. You know, the airy-fairiness was still done well and it had substance, whereas Caraval was completely substanceless. And it's literally one of the worst books I've read. I wouldn't have railed against it that hard if the ending was like good, but I hate that ending. I think that ending was literally like the most cop-out ending I've read in my entire life. Recently, I also read We Hunt the Flame. I love like Arabian inspired fantasies, but We Hunt the Flame was just similarly as substanceless as Caraval. Well, not nearly as substanceless, but it's not a good book. It does a lot of telling, not showing. Was there anything else? Do I have... Wait, 1 second. I just want to check my Goodreads. Oh, right. Kind of hated. Obviously, Aquatar, A Court of Thorns and Roses by Sarah J. Maas. I hated it too. I hated the second book. I hated the third book. I hate that series. But then I also read Carry On. Look, I know that series or that book is like really hyped, but to me the setup was really bad. It read like book 6 of Harry Potter without any of the setup, without any of like the foundation, or like there's no easing of the reader into that world, you know. It just kind of dumps you into the book and I'm like, what the hell is going on? So Carry On by Rainbow Rowell was not a great book. Obviously Red, White and Royal Blue I didn't like either. Bone Witch I really wanted to love, but I just didn't love it that much. Siege and Storm, which is I think the second book in the Shadow and Bone trilogy, I really didn't like that one either. Final Empire, which is Mistborn #1, I didn't really like that much. The prose is really clunky. Name of the Wind, I was really annoyed by the characters. Oh, The Magicians. I don't think that I read that because of blogging, but The Magicians by Lev Grossman, I think that book is really bad. Yeah, so I think I've given you enough for that. Can you tell that I just really want to rant about books I didn't love? Okay, number 4, a terrible ending that ruined an otherwise quality book. I don't think that I've read many books that had specifically really bad endings, but I do know a terrible ending that made a terrible book even more terrible. And again, that would be Caraval by Stephanie Garber. I think that Caraval, I could have given it like maybe a 2 stars if, you know, by the end, if the ending had been a little bit more substantial or like a little bit more in depth. But that book, again, it's a Night Circus knockoff, in my opinion. Like, and I didn't even realize that at the time I was reading it, but I was like, how in the world did this book get past publishing? Literally, I would read the world building and then I would forget it, like, within 2 seconds. The characters were so meaningless. Like, ugh, they're so dumb. The writing was really bad too. It just had no depth to the writing. I could have given it 2 stars because there was anything particularly, like, horrible about it. Like, there was nothing particularly problematic. It's just that it was really, really bad. Like, literally, I feel like I could have written that book when I was in 5th grade. So yeah, I could have given that book 2 stars because there's nothing that I was like hating, but the ending was horrible. I hate books that don't have consequences, and I don't like it when books don't have some sort of like depth or takeaway or moral takeaway at the end, because at least you tried to say something about the book. But the problem with Caraval is that it doesn't say anything. It literally does not say anything. The ending, it made the female protagonist such a special snowflake, and that ending was really bad. I think I need to kind of rant about that book in one of my reviews. It is literally the worst book I ever read. Okay, so number 5, which fictional characters do you wish were not killed off? Okay, spoilers for Harry Potter. I think that in book 7, Hedwig being killed off was really bad. She just kind of gets killed off and then there's really no mourning period for her. I don't like a lot of the deaths in Deathly Hallows. I don't even remember all of them all, but you can go watch my review. So yeah, Harry Potter, I really didn't like some of the characters that were killed off. I think that in books 4, 5, and 6, the characters that were killed off were really, really well done, but everybody in book 7, except for Fred Weasley, I really didn't like their deaths. Oh, also, you can go watch my Winternight review for this, but Winter of the Witch, right, which is the 3rd book in the Baron the Nightingale trilogy, a certain character at the end should not have been killed off. I think that character's death was kind of meaningless. I thought he has so many more things that he could have done. I think that he has so many more important roles that he could have fulfilled, and I thought that he had more things to do after the end of the book. And I'm gonna spoil his name. 3, 2, 1. Sasha, who is Vasia's brother. I didn't like the fact that he was killed off. Number 6, what are some of your bookish pet peeves? I don't like it when people make a big fuss about like dog-earing your books, or like books are to be read. Like, I think that's kind of annoying that people are so like shocked. Weird thing with me is like, I don't like it when a book hasn't been read on my bookshelf, like unless it's a like, very special edition, which I do have, right? I have special editions. I have books that I do want to be very careful with, but otherwise very normal trade paperbacks and whatnot, I think those should be allowed to be dog-eared without people freaking out over it. Did that answer the question? Bookish pet peeves. So yeah, I don't like it when people make a fuss about people actually like doing whatever they want with their books. I think that's kind of dumb. Number 7, what are some books you feel should have more recognition? I will always champion the Bartimaeus trilogy by Jonathan Stroud. If you love the Percy Jackson series and if you love Harry Potter, there's no reason why you should not love the Bartimaeus trilogy. Literally, I have not read another series that has such a satisfying ending as the Bartimaeus trilogy. Satisfying in the sense that it's emotionally satisfying. Harry Potter, the ending of that was like, it was not emotionally satisfying. Percy Jackson, I think, had a really solid series conclusion, but the Bartimaeus trilogy literally is the best finale I've read in my entire life, and I've read the Mistborn trilogy. The Mistborn trilogy ending was really, really quite epic, and I really quite liked it, but Bartimaeus trilogy is even better than that. I think it's executed a lot better. I'm not talking about plot twists. I'm not necessarily talking about like the shit that goes down, but emotionally, when it comes to character arcs and whatnot, I think that the Bartimaeus trilogy is literally the best series I have read in my entire life. It's so funny. The characters are really, really funny. You have this bromance between the 2 main characters. It's so, so funny. I think that the villains are a little bit more predictable, but I don't think that's the point of that trilogy, So I love the Bartimaeus trilogy, and if you have never read that trilogy, like, you should. Number 8, what are your thoughts on censorship and banning books? Is this even a question? Like, I guess the one thing that I do feel a little bit uncomfortable reading in books is when children are involved. The graphic detail of children being like raped or like, sexually abused, or like, I don't know. Even that, like, I don't have any issues. Like, I do have issues with it, but as long as it's handled sensitively, I don't really mind it. Otherwise, you know, it's kind of dumb to censor anything or ban books. I think that's kind of dumb. Who do you tag? Nobody. That was the no disclaimers book tag. I am getting really hot in this car and I'm gonna go back in my home now. Thanks for watching. My review of Ninth House will be coming soon, or it might already be out. I don't know which one I'm gonna finish editing before this, but yeah, thanks for watching. If you felt offended by anything that I said in this review, I literally don't care. But do let me know. I don't know, like, I don't think that I offend people that well, but like, you know, this is the internet. You never know. Yeah, thanks for watching.